Today we begin with volume ST39. It's a new volume, chapter 1. Group karma. Is there group karma? Right? Now, karma is one of the central teachings in Buddhism. It means intentional action. Intention. Intention, that means there is some kind of moral tone to the action. Your actions are through body, speech, and mind. In other words, thinking, speaking, and action to the body. Here, the intention means whether this action that you do, is it motivated by greed, hate, delusion, or not? This greed, hate, delusion, they are the three motivational roots. If any action is motivated by greed, that means you want something at any cost, or hatred, pushing it away at any cost. Delusion, meaning some kind of ignorance, confusion, wrong idea, then it is bad karma. Meaning there is this backlash, there is this possibility of this action coming back when the conditions are right again. In other words, this bad karma, let's say A kills B, B dies, A may not get the result immediately, but in the right conditions, anytime in the future, some kind of fruit, some kind of bad results, to put it simply, would come upon this killer A. And it doesn't just happen once, it can happen as often as those negative conditions are present. So karma is not a simple arithmetical equation. It's more like exponential. It can happen anytime. So think of karma as a kind of a habit, a personal habit. So if you have done something once, it's likely to happen again. If we get angry once, we're likely to get angry again. If we do something good once, we're likely to do it again. So the idea is to create this positive habit in our lifestyle. Okay? That means you've got to be aware first that, okay, I have this negative habit, so let me overcome this. So you've got to be aware of it first, then you overcome it. Or I've not cultivated this positive habit, so let me cultivate it like that. Okay? So this is, in other words, karma acts on an individual basis. It is something very personal. So the question now is, can this karma happen as a group? So this is what we're going to discuss at this session, and probably we need at least one more session because it's quite a long discussion here. So when we talk about karma, we're talking about moral responsibility, moral accountability, because the actions that we do affect other people. And in a sense, offhand, we can say that we tend to do things in group also, right? So we have good friends, you go out together, you get drunk together. That is one example of group karma, if you like, But how does it work? So this is something we'll examine. Or on the good side, you have friends, you get together and then you do something good. Maybe in the Buddha stories, you have these people, young people, they get together, they pave roads, they plant trees for the traveler, they dig wells for the thirsty, or they offer alms to the needy, to the monks and nuns. So they do it together as a group. And for example, you have this Magga and his 33 friends. They did this kind of collective good deed as young people, public services actually. They paved roads, dig out wells, plant trees, and when they died, the story went that they became the gods of the heaven of the 33. So that's an example of collective karma. Or is it really collective karma? So these are things we'll examine. So the point here is, although we know karma acts individually, we also know that we can do things collectively. So how does karma function collectively? Right? So these are something we'll discuss. Right? I'm still on page 1 here. So here, you notice, the question we need to ask here is, do we have references in the suttas for group karma, for example? Well, let's look at one example here on page 1 from the Devadutta Sutta and Devadutta Yama Sutta, M130 and A3.35. This deed was not done by your mother or your father. Right? Now, this verse here is spoken by King Yama. King Yama is not a historical figure. He's like the god of the underworld, if you like. He's supposed to judge these bad guys, who have done not bad deeds in life, so that they are reborn there. Now, of course, in Buddhism, some Buddhists will take this as story, like the Greek stories. Some take this as real beings. So it's up to you. In Buddhism, we're not particular how you take these stories, whether you take them as real or as stories. Okay? Of course, you're curious how I take it. I would say I really don't know. Since I don't know, I would say it's safer for me to take it as story form. Now, I'm not saying they're not real. I'm saying that they are story form in the sense that they have something to teach us. All these stories, they have a reason. They're told because these stories help us to understand good and bad. So here, these people who have done lots of bad karma, they died and are reborn in the hell states, and they are appearing before King Yama. And King Yama asks them, have you not seen all these signs, for example, an old man, a sick man, a dead man, and don't you realize that, you grow old, you get sick, and you'll die, and don't you reflect on impermanence? And don't you realize that since life is so impermanent, why don't you do good deeds? And these people say, no, we never noticed that. So King Yama has to kind of send them off for punishment, so to speak. So this is a kind of an allegory, a kind of story where it's not that Yama is not judging them. Yama is acting like a reminder, almost like someone who regrets the fact that I have to see you. The King Yama is saying, why must you come before me? So if you come before me, you're going to suffer in the hell state. It's not because I send you to the hell state, it's because of your karma. But here Yama is asking, why have you come to this state? Don't you know why? And so King Yama says, this bad deeds you have done is you are responsible for yourself. So here it says, this bad deed was not done by your mother, or your father, or by your brother or your sister, or by your friend and companions, or by your kinsmen or relatives, or by recluses or Brahmins, or by the gods. Not at all. This bad deed was done by you yourself, and you yourself will feel its results. So this is a very important teaching in Buddhism, made into this fantastic mythical story. King Yama is the spokesman. He says, all these things, your suffering here is not because of anyone else. Don't blame anyone else, not even the gods. You have done it yourself. That's why you are here in this suffering state, the hell states. So this is a very important teaching in Buddhism. We are accountable to our own actions. We are responsible for the results of our own actions. Now, this teaching also has its problems, because sometimes people misinterpret this teaching. They like to go around and tell people, say, hey, you are responsible for your own action. Anything bad happens to you, too bad is your karma. So there's nothing I can do to help you. And that's not the way it works. What is meant by this statement is, yes, we are responsible for our own action. It's just like whatever food I take, unhealthy food, fatty food, whatever, I'm going to feel the effect of it. But it doesn't mean you should not stop me from eating, or you can advise me, say, this is good food, or this is not so good. So in other words, yes, I take the food, it affects me, but then there are cooks who can cook healthy food, for example. So we've got to see it on a broader perspective, in other words. But the final situation is that the result will be upon us. We will face it ourselves. We must not forget that, in other words. So the teaching of karma here means that we can be responsible for ourselves. We don't blame any god out there. We don't blame anyone out there. At the same time, on the positive side, we can also change our destiny and save ourselves. Even the hells are impermanent. Of course, the hells takes a very long time, but still they're impermanent. Whatever exists It's impermanent. So here, karma, in other words, talks about your personal action. But then we find other suttas also talk of karma as your occupation, the kind of work that you do. For example, if you are a butcher or killing or selling meat, so there is bad karma there. So you have occupation. But karma actually works more with preoccupation. You got occupation, you got preoccupation. Preoccupation simply means your habits. If your habits are negative, then your karma also becomes negative. So this is something we need to work with, in other words. So the fact that we live together as a society, as a country, as a world community, you find somehow, although we are responsible for our own acts, somehow the acts that we do affect others. And the behavior of other people around us also affects us. Take road rage, for example, in Singapore. Why do people have road rage? It's not because of one other person. It's because there are many other persons causing this one person to stress up, right? So it's a group karma. This group out there somehow always feel they should cut in or take over the other person. There's this mindset, so to speak. So in other words, people tend to act in that way. You have this very common group mentality of wanting to go ahead of others. And that causes problems and stress on other people. So once you think like that, you begin to see, yes, there is this group thing going on, but still not very clear what's going on, but we know there's something that we live in a society. So if we live alone, of course, there's no problem there, right? But we'll come to this point a little later. Here, the good point is this. Although we're talking about bad things here, because we can also talk of good things. You find many Singaporeans are also generous, right? If even there was an earthquake in Japan, a very rich country, we still send money there. One reason is it's good in the face of the international community. Look, Singapore is sending so much money to Japan, mind you. So we get a good name there. But the point is, it could well be another poor country. Singapore will still, people in Singapore somehow will get together and they're generous in that sense. So here you find that this idea of giving, it is a very ingrained thing. It's like a group thing in Singapore too. So you have that good aspect, good group karma in Singapore too. The idea of giving. Here, of course, where Buddhism is concerned, giving is such an important quality. For example, look at this sutta, the Dana Vachagota Sutta, A 3.57, page 2, where the Buddha says, Vacha, this I say, even if one throws away the washings from a pot or bowl into a village pool or pond, wishing that beings there may feed on them, even this vacha would be a source of merit, not to speak of making gift to human beings. However, I declare that offerings made to the morally virtuous is of great fruit, not so of those made to the immoral. There are quite some interesting issues here. Number one is the smallness of giving. The Buddha says, even if after you've eaten food and there are some remnants of food in your bowl, and you just wash away all this extra food, the remnants from your meal, and you say, may all the fishes eat this, or some animal, the water eat this, you have done a great merit. That's your intention of it. Very small action like that is good karma. Oh, by the way, monks are not allowed to do this. After the monks have eaten from their bowl, all those food in the bowl could be oily, you see. So they have to wash it very carefully and then throw it in a place where there are no living beings, so that they don't kill any living beings. So this instruction that refers to lay people. Right? So that's the first thing, smallness of gifts. Number two, second significant point is this. Giving to animals is also meritorious. It's wonderful. So if you have pets and you feed them well, you should be feeding them properly, taking care of them. You're doing a great, that's good karma. I'm sure my 2 cats at home will be very happy to hear this. Right? Taking care, and this idea of taking care of animals this is often mentioned in Buddhist teachings. Then imagine if you do that to animals, the merit is so great. What about being kind to human beings? It's even more wonderful. And if you are kind to the morally virtuous, the truly good people who are not selfish, who would rather go hungry than to steal or kill. That's what the arahats are like, If the arahats go hungry, they just sit there until they die of hunger just like that. And they won't go around, they won't even ask for food because they're quite happy with themselves. So, if we offer them food, we lengthen their life, and that's good karma. You might say, why? Well, there are more good people in the world. If you feed the good, there are more good people in the world. If you don't feed them, they die off, then the bad people are more. So that's one way of explaining it. And the other, second reason is even more important. When you feed them and they teach the Dharma, then you learn things, and you become wiser. So that's the point supporting them. It's good in that sense. So in other words, you have this give and take thing, this karma, action, reaction. And there is this thing called the common good. So in other words, we don't just live alone, there are other people. And very often in the suttas, the Buddha will say, you are not sure how to give the precepts, then you got to consider, will it harm me, will it harm others, and will it harm myself and others? Now, first of all, you ask, will this thing I do hurt me in a bad way or not? If it does, I should not do it. Then you ask, this job that I do, will it harm other people? So it won't, okay, that's good, I can do it. Or if it does, I should not do it. And then myself and other people, what does this mean? This third one, my understanding is it refers to society at large. Will it harm the world out there? If it doesn't, very good, we can do that. So these are the 3 points of purity of action. So if, let's say you're getting a job, you're not sure, is it going to be a good job for you? Is it healthy? Is it wholesome? You ask yourself, will it harm me? Will it make me happy? Or will it, is it good for me or not? Is it good for other people or not? For example, selling drugs, you make money but other people get hurt, it's not good. What about society generally? For example, we cut down trees and then there are no more trees. Look at China, they have not been respecting environment, and now all these results are coming back. The big Chinese cities are so smoggy, so much haze in the skies, the air is unhealthy, and then you get dust storms, things like that. So nature has a way of getting back upon us if we don't respect nature. So in a sense, that's not karma, that's a clear action-reaction of a physical nature. Not everything is due to karma. Some things are just a result of action-reaction in a physical sense. For example, you cut down all the trees, and then nothing to attract the rain. You've got leaves have a way of attracting rain clouds. So if no more trees and the rain clouds will come, you get no rain, you're going to get a desert. So it's almost like an ecological karma, if you like, but it's not ethical karma. We're talking about ethical mental karma, yeah? So the point is, we can move people to do good as a group. But that's what I'm doing here now, trying my best to reach out to the world. Here I am being dead and you are listening to me. Although I'm dead and gone, my voice still going on. So in reaching out to people, anyone who turns on the video and listen to it, they hear it, and I do not know how many people listen to it. And you find the more they listen, the more they say, oh yes, there's something wonderful in Buddhism, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to do something good. And sometimes you might, inspire future leaders. Right? Maybe one day the new Secretary General of the UN says, well, I decided to join the UN because I saw this Buddhist video, I don't know. So these are all possibilities of goodness. That is why the Buddha, first of all, taught 5 months, and then he got the 5 monks And then he taught a few more monks. After in the end, he got 60 monks. He got enough people, 60. And then he sent them all out in different directions. And this is powerful group karma, He told the monks, he says here on page 3, go forth, O monks, on a mission for the good of the many, for the happiness of the many, out of compassion for the world, for the good and happiness of gods and humans. Notice gods and humans, not just human beings, but higher beings. And then he says, let not two of you go the same way. That's very interesting. You know why he says, let not two of you go in the same way? Because in doing so, each monk goes one way. That means 60 directions. 60 is quite significant, because if you look at the compass, 60 directions, 4, and then you go on cutting up, you get, those everywhere. Symbolic everywhere. And then the 60 monks came back with converts. And then the Buddhist Sangha grew. And it became a big group of monks who set examples for others. You know how the monks inspire the people? They never go door to door and knock on the door and say, hey, life is full of suffering, you've got to come and listen to the Buddha. They never said that. They would go to the houses silently in the morning. Okay, they just stand there quietly. You got to be very mindful, otherwise you open the door, there's a monk there, So you have to be very mindful in the morning. You know, there are monks around, they get to come to your house, they will stand very quietly. And then they will stand there for a while. Once they notice you see them and you are not going to make any offering, they just go away. Once you see them and you open your bowl, looking into the bowl, all done, total silence. They don't even say thank you to you. Not at that time, because you're not supposed to speak. I had to do this when I was in Thailand as a monk. I remember the first few days, But unfortunately, I had to speak because they noticed I was not Thai. So they're always curious, they're not Thai, they will talk to you. And then although I'm not Thai, they knew I could speak Thai, so they asked, where are you from? So I had to tell them I'm from Malaysia in those days. And I do chat with them just out of politeness, Otherwise, that's it, we don't talk. Okay? It's not a chatty situation, but you have to be very mindful when you collect your alms. You are making other people happy. On special holy days, we go out, lots of people wanting to give food to the monks, and your bowl is going to be full. And the rule says, once your bowl is full, you got to cover it, you can't accept anymore. Then I did that, and the devotees look so sad, Because you know why? Maybe you can't do married, you see. Then when I went back to the monastery, the monks told me, you should not be a stickler to the rules and to make the people sad. You can turn the cover up like that. That's allowed, it says. You turn the cover, you can take some more, then you make more people happy, and then you got more to eat also, by the way. So next time I went out, I turned my cover up again. Then I saw the older monks, more seasoned monks, brought along pails actually. So then you can collect a lot of food. Well, they have a lot of pupils anyway. Students, the poor who stay in monasteries. So nothing is wasted. So here again you see this very joyful sharing of group karma, especially in a monastery system in Thailand, for example. Now then on the higher level or deeper level if you like, we have examples of group karma also, of the different kinds of beings. Look at page 4 for example. The stations of consciousness. Now this is a very special arrangement of different kinds of beings. We have what I call 7 stations of consciousnesses and the 2 spheres. This is a way of classifying different beings according to their nature. For example, if you look at right at the bottom, these are the lower worlds, the 2nd station of consciousness. Beings who are different in body, same in perception. The bodies, they exist in different bodies, but their mentality is the same. Take for example, animals. Animals exist in different species, different bodies, but their minds are the same in the sense that they all have fear and they kill to eat. So their perception is the same. Okay, that's one. And then same thing with the asuras, the hell beings and the pretas. Their mentality is the same. Different kinds of suffering. Okay? Human beings have different body, different perception. In other words, you can never get two same person, same in mind, same in body, no such thing. Okay? Then you have devas. Further up, the Brahmas, the great Brahmas, they are different body but same in perception. This is the happy side. So these beings in the Brahma realm, the jhana flames, they have different individual existences, but their minds are happy in the same way. Okay? And then you have higher still, you have beings same in body, same in perception. These are the gods of the Vihapala, Subhakina, Apamana, Subha, Paritasuba. These are the abundant fruit, radiant glory, boundless glory, limited glory. These are very high realms. These are the what they call beings who are very happy. Right? So here they are one body. How should I say? It's like they are not different from each other. Their minds are all one, so to speak. Their feeling also one. They're not separate because they're not physical like us. They're like light, energy. So there you have a group. They are like a group. So this is according to the 7 stations of consciousness. So this is something you can go in detail if you like. That's a bit technical here. On page 5, there's some details you can read there. And then coming down to earth again, you find that there are stories which are told in the suttas about group karma. One of the really beautiful story, let me begin with a beautiful story first. Once you had this bats, these bats, they were living in this in a cave, this big cave, and there were like, I don't know, 500 of them, these bats, and they were listening to these monks chanting, reciting Abhidhamma, the story. And apparently these bats, although they can't understand human language, but because of the chanting, there's a rhythm to it, they felt very calm and peaceful. And when they all died, they all were reborn together also, happily. And so this is where you find the good karma works together. Now, then there is one more story here of how Queen Samawati suffered a tragic death. This is on page 6. This story, first of all, starts in the past. Long before the Buddha's time, it is said there were 8 Pratyeka Buddhas. These were silent Buddhas, these were individual Buddhas. 7 of them went back into the hills, into the mountains, and one stayed behind to meditate. He went to deep meditation. Once it's kind of deep meditators, they go to deep meditation, they can last for as long as a week, 7 days. So this particular Pratyeka Buddha sat in the grass, so his grass all covered him up, so no one could see him. Then there was this palace women who were playing in that area. They went down to the river with the king to wash. It was very cold. So they saw this grass. They did not know there was this Pratyeka Buddha there. So they burned this grass. They lighted it up. The grass was burning. And as the grass burned, suddenly they noticed there was this meditating monk inside. Now, the story goes that if a monk is in deep meditation, jhana meditation, nothing can burn them. So the fire actually won't hurt him. But these women, they panicked. They panicked, and instead they say, wow, what have we done? We are burning this monk, he will die. And they panicked. And so what they did was, instead of putting out the fire, they say, in that case, we better kill this monk so we don't get caught and burn him. So they brought more grass, to cover up the monk. And then they went away, thinking that, oh, this monk is dead, so end of story. Yeah, but the monk didn't die because he was in deep meditation. After 7 days, the fire has gone out. He comes out of meditation, shook off all the dirt and dust and soot, and went his way. But these 500 maidens, these servants of the king, from the moment they say we will kill this Buddha, this particular Buddha, the bad karma started. Before that, when they didn't do it consciously, nothing happened. But the moment they say we better kill this, otherwise we get into trouble, that's when the bad karma started generating, so to speak. So this bad karma followed these 500 maidens into their last life with the king Udena, in the Buddha's time. So the story went that Samavati, she was a very great devotee of the Buddha, but she could not leave the palace because the king doesn't allow it, so she remained in the palace. But the king has another wife, another queen, who was jealous of her and plotted to kill her. In fact, they set fire to her palace, Samavati's palace, so that she couldn't escape. So all the 500 servants and Samavati perished in the flames. But what's interesting is when she knew this fire was burning, she at once told the 500 maidens, she says, do not show any hatred. This is a time to cultivate your loving kindness. The moment of death is coming. Do not show any hatred. Cultivate loving kindness. Take this as our karmas ripening. So just show your loving kindness, you'll be okay. So they all died with loving kindness in their hearts. So in other words, they died happy. See, so this is one story again. You see, they did something bad together, and then they died together also. So you do have this kind of story, this in the commentaries. So now I've told you the story of Magga and the 33 young men, right? So these stories, in other words, although they are mythology, we must take them as ethicized story. Ethicized story, that means there is a message behind the story telling us that doing good is better than doing bad. How to make good of even a bad situation. In other words, how to get out of a difficult bad situation. Then there is another story about Guru Karma, where King Pasenadi was involved. Now Pasenadi, although he's a very devout follower of the Buddha, he's actually quite a tragic figure. Now he's a great devotee of the Buddha, so much so that to win the support of the Sakyas, he decided to marry one of the Sakya women. He asked for a Sakya woman for marriage. But the Sakyas were very proud warriors, Kshatriyas. They were endogamous. Endogamous, that means they do not believe in letting one of their kind marry outside their group. This is all a power thing. Because the idea is to keep marriage within their community, within their clan, within their tribe. It's called endogamy, so that the power is maintained within their community. And for some reason, they do not believe in this Machiavellian idea of having, what do you call it, some kind of connection to marriage, alliance to marriage. They don't seem to have that kind of idea. So they're not happy when King Pasenadi asked for a hand in marriage. So instead of saying no, what they did was they sent an outcast girl, claiming that she is a Sakya, and the king didn't know. So this woman, who is an outcast, marries the king and produces a son called Vidudaba. Vidudaba grew up and then found out one day through a very strange incident that the mother was an outcast. So he being a prince, young prince, was deeply angered. And he didn't say anything about it. He vowed that he would destroy the Sakyas one day. He would massacre them. So he waited his time. Now King Pasenadi did another bad karma. Kings those days, they were absolute monarchs. They could just kill anyone that they like. So there was some kind of court intrigue, and someone told him that Bandula, his commander-in-chief, is plotting some underhand thing. So he just ordered Bandula and his relatives killed, just like that. So Digakarayana, one of the relatives of Bandula, was somehow not killed, but he was Pasenadi's confidant, serving him personally. So one day, when King Pasenadi was 80 years old, he went to see the Buddha. Now when these kings they see the Buddha, they will leave their arms, their regalia, crown, everything outside. And Digakarayana will take care of it. And that's the time when Digakarayana decided to take his revenge. He says, this king has destroyed my kinsmen, my relatives. Now's the time I will take back all these regalia, crown, jewels, the sword of state and so on. I'll bring this back to his son, let his son become the new king. So the king was like all alone except for an old woman. And the new king Vidudaba was crowned the next day. That night, the poor king found that nobody was around, only this old woman servant. So he tried to go back into the palace, but the gates were closed. They were not allowed in. So this king, at 80, can you imagine an 80-year-old man out in the cold? We're talking about India, which can be very cold at night, at the wrong time. So the king died of exposure at 80 years old. Now, so Vidudaba is king, and he remembered his vow. So he prepared to attack the Sakyas. The Buddha knew this. The Buddha appeared near the river Rohini. And Vidudaba did not attack because the Buddha was there 3 times. Vidudaba said, why don't you come over here, oh Lord? The shadow is better here, so hot over there. And the Buddha hinted, the Buddha says, oh, the shadow of my kinsman is more shady, more soothing, hinting that don't attack the Sankhya's. But this story is very strange, because it comes to the commentary. The story went that after the 3rd time, the Buddha sees that Vidudaba insists in coming to attack the Sakyas. Then he looked back, he realized that the karma of the Sakyas was such because they did something bad in the previous life. And their bad action was they poisoned the water of the river so that the other side, got affected by it. And because of that bad karma, in this life, they will be killed by Vidudaba. I suspect this is a later story by the commentators, because it would be rather strange that the Buddha almost literally was taught the 3rd time and do nothing and say, well, too bad, it's a karma, let them be killed, That's the story anyway. So then the Buddha just left things as they are, and Vidudaba is said to have killed almost all the Sakyas. Not every one of them, because many of them ran off into the hills and mountains. Some of them later set up their own kingdoms elsewhere. Then after doing this massacre, this is the part of good karma came in, very interesting. They were tired after the battle, so they all rested on the dry river bed. Okay? Now, this is something you often will see when you go to Taman Negara in Malaysia, the national park. Dry river bed. We normally go to the jungles during the dry season. In the dry season, the mountains, the rivers in the mountains uphill usually is dry. In other words, you may get just a bit of water, or maybe just a tiny little stream by the side, and you have this wide river bed, and you can walk right across the river bed just like that, and pebbles all over. But we are told, we are warned, the moment you hear a rumbling in the mountains, you better immediately get out of the river bed, because it may not be raining where you are, but it's raining in the mountains. And this water will just come rushing down. And if your back is to the hills, then you are looking at the little fishes and picking nice round stones, and this water will just kind of wash you within minutes, you're gone. You won't even know what hit you. It's very dangerous. And that's exactly what happened. Vidudaba, after battle, tired, and the soldiers, they all were lying down, resting on the riverbed. The strange thing was this. those whose karma was good somehow decided to sleep on the upper banks, and those whose karma were bad decided to sleep on the riverbed itself. But some not so bright do-gooders also slept on the riverbank. This was really, I really love this part. Then some ants came and bit these good people. They were bitten so uncomfortably that they decided to move upstream, up the riverbank anyway, so their lives were safe. And okay, at this point, what is the moral of the story? When the ants bite you, remember this story. And that's because you are good, so the ants are biting you. So just move on. That's one of my interpretations. So then, in the middle of the night, this mountain gush just came down the mountains and washed away Viruddhaba and all those people with bad karma, and they all drowned. They drowned in the floods. So there you are. See, it's good karma taking place. No? So poor Viruddhaba drowned that way. The story of the bat is found page 2 in section 241. These bats were listening to the monks reciting Abhidhamma, and then they all were born in the Buddha's time. All right? Okay, now next part here, page 10. Bottom of page 9 actually, 2.5 and 1. We are back to the story about giving as a group. This teaching was given by Sariputta. This teaching throws some light on group giving. Sariputta says that if you are to give alone, you just give by yourself, you don't encourage other people to give, then the fruit of your good karma is to be rich in the next life. But you'll be lonely. You won't have many friends. On the other hand, you're the kind of person who's very persuasive. You get people to be generous and support the monks and nuns or do something good through generosity, but you don't do it yourself. And the next life, you'll be poor, you have a lot of friends. Okay? So the best thing to do is do that generous act yourself and also bring other people to do it together. Then the benefit is to become rich and you have a lot of friends too. Of course, the karma is a bit what scholars today would say is utilitarian. In other words, there's a kind of like motive behind it. You see? I give so that I'll be rich, and we have a lot of friends. But that's the general idea that giving in group is good. But there is an important point here which is not mentioned, but we know it very well if you participate in group giving, dana as they call it. For example, let's say you get 10 monks who come to visit us, and we got like 50 people offering alms. You find you don't need to bring much food. You just bring you bring a bowl of food, which is enough for yourself. Maybe just a bit more, just a few spoonfuls more if you like. You know why? That the question is, how many spoonfuls can a monk eat? I don't know if you have ever measured how many spoonfuls you can eat. I've done that. Once I was sitting at the hawker center, I decided to count how many spoonfuls of food to sustain myself in one meal. 20 spoonfuls of full spoon should be enough. 30 is very filling already. Okay, taking that as a rough measure, imagine, okay, there are 5 months there. So you just put 1 spoonful of food per monk. That means you only put 5 spoonfuls. That's enough. You put more than that, you will double the, I don't know what's the mathematical term for it, the calculation, Because why? There are 50 people, 50 people. So imagine 50 people, each of them put 1 scoop into a monk's bowl. How many scoops is that? 50 scoops, and the monk can't finish. It's quite a lot of food. So you don't really need much to support the monk. So this is where group action is more, it's less wasteful in other words. And yet you feel this good sense of camaraderie and esprit de corps. So that the karmic fruit, fellowship, good feelings, good karma, work in such a way. So now we come to another section about different ideas which some people have shown. Page 10 here. There's this question about genetics and karma. Are genetics and karma connected or not? Well, in Buddhism, they are not. Technically speaking, they are not. But genetics explain one thing, karma explains another thing. For example, genetics make us reborn as human beings. Okay? But what kind of human beings we become is decided by our karma. Whether we are happy or not, it's not genetics, it's your karma. Okay? Some people are born poor, ugly, but they're still happy. Alright? So they don't work in the same way. What about family karma? For example, take for example in Singapore, the Lee family. Let's say you're born into the Lee family. Does that mean you're good karma? Or if you're born into the Kennedy family in the USA, does that mean it's good karma? I mean, the Kennedy family is such a famous family, by just the fact that you bear the name Kennedy, people say, wow, which city are you from? You find you get great respect. Again here, I don't think we can really speak about Kennedy karmic family karma, although it sounds quite inviting. Here rather we're talking about this family is so well known, that it's just charisma, social awareness. It's not exactly karma. However, if you use that kind of status and do good, you find it's easier to do good. Then you create good karma. So it's not everything is karma. Because being born into a good family may be a good karma, but the family itself may not sustain the good karma. You have to sustain it yourself. Okay? Then there's a concept of karmic overflow. And this is a very interesting idea. It's like, for example, it says if there's a, especially in terms of a country or society, take Singapore for example. We're all living here comfortably. We have almost everything we have. We're a very peaceful country, a rich country. And we are third world becoming first world and so on, things like that. Why is that? Because you have some people called the government working very hard. They're all creating good karma. So because they're creating good karma, there's so much good karma, the karma overflow to us. So this is one explanation. So that's why, for example, in 1956, I think in the late 50s, the government of Myanmar, Burma, they decided to do some kind of national good deed. They convened the Sixth Council. By doing this, they felt that this wonderful national good karma will help the country to prosper. And in fact, this teaching was given one of the Sangharaja in Thailand also, who told the king that if the king did a lot of good deeds, then the good deeds that he do will also benefit the people. In a sense, this is true, but whether it is karma or not, it's difficult to say. Because as you know, in Buddhism, we don't say that karma can be transferred. Karma cannot transfer. But what I do can affect you, that's different. In other words, if your conditions are right, if I do something good, you can benefit from it. You can also feel it. For example, you must have faith. If you don't have faith, you are cynical. No matter how hard I try, you won't feel good anyway. So there must be that kind of similar feeling inside you too. Then the karma will ripen in you. It's just like, okay, here's I'm a light here, big candle here, and you're also another candle. When you bring the light, your candle to my candle, then your own candle lights up. But nothing is passed from my candle to your candle, except heat, of course. Transfer of heat, if you like. But it is because you have a candle, the wick, the wax, oxygen and so on, the light comes on. So if you think in that way, it's easier to understand that karma is not transferred, but one good deed can bring happiness to others and inspire others to also do good deeds. So in a sense, nothing is transferred except this idea of being inspired to do good. Right? So in that sense, I suppose you can say coming overflow in that sense, as long as you define the terms clearly. Yeah? So the good things that we do cannot be taken away. The good things that we do can affect other people to the extent we can understand. Yeah? It is with this idea that we have the Buddha willing to, or rather wishing to be born to the world and have other people, because the Buddha, because of his great compassion and his great wisdom, is able to inspire and teach other people and to change their lives. So because of this, you find the Buddha, the Bodhisattva rather, he looks around and decides where's the best place to be born. Right, this is page 13, section 4 from 2 from 3, the 5 investigations. This Bodhisattva, the Buddha to be, first of all, he chooses the right time, the lifespan of people, not too long, not too short, and then the right place, the continent, the region, so it should be a well-developed, advanced society. And then, in other words, there are meditators there, people are philosophically developed. And the mother also is the right time. The mother is someone who would, after giving birth to the child, would pass away 7 days later, and so on. Of course, these are later traditions trying to show us that the right conditions are very important. The ability of the society to accept the Buddha is very important. Then the Buddha's teaching will prosper. So here again you have this idea of almost like natural selection, if you like. This idea of everything is right. Okay? So this the Buddha coming into the world is more like looking for the right conditions. So right conditions here can be seen like as if karma is like a network of threads interweaving each other, and you have this network of threads, and each thread is karma. And all these people in the society in India, the karma is such that they're able to accept this Buddha who's going to be born amongst them. And the teaching will prosper and will come down to us even to this day. So karma, in other words, is able to influence us. Karma is able to somehow affect us. So there is kind of, we can be moved by this action of the Buddha. So now, next section 15. We are capable of collective action. We can do things together. So in that sense, there is group karma. For example, like I said, as a nation, for example, we participate in, say, ASEAN, another association of Southeast Asian nations. So we participate as a nation. Countries that go to war also go as a nation. But here you have a problem, Let's say those days Germany was at war with the British and others. Sometimes the people who belong to the other camp get imprisoned by this camp. For example, Japan bombed America. So the Americans rounded up all the Japanese in the US and imprisoned them. Although these Japanese had never seen Japan, they were loyal American citizens. So the question now, is it a karma? The karma of being Japanese, so they were imprisoned. In fact, there was a man called Yana Ponika who was a German Jew. He was living in India or Sri Lanka at that time. The British were ruling these two places, so they imprisoned him too during World War II because he was German. He was a monk. So is that karma, the fact that he was a German and got imprisoned? I would say in this case it's a bit tricky, Now the fact that he was in prison because he was German is not karma. It's just circumstances of war. Britain is at war with Germany, so you're a German, you go to jail. However, he did not suffer in jail, so his karma was good. That's how so you can't just kind of give a blanket answer to this. It's not simple. Even though my answer is conjectural anyway. Okay, so the point here is a country that goes to war with another country. Question now: does it create group karma or not? It's not an easy question to answer. Because if you say Germany, because of Hitler starting World War II, so the Germans creating bad karma because they bombed other countries, they bombed France and so on. But those people who are fighting the war, they would have died already. So is it right that their children and the future generations suffer the fruit of what they have done? It doesn't work that way. So in that way, we can say that the group karma doesn't really work there. So, like I said again, it's not easy to discuss group karma. You've got to examine it case by case. Because now, for example, you see Germany is prospering, they're doing a lot of good things for Europe, So the group karma is not acting on them because of World War II. Of course, definitely we know Hitler created a lot of bad karma for himself by starting the war, by leading the war. Individually, it's easier to understand. On the other hand, we also must remember that it is possible for us to work as a group. Let's say if you are soldiers as a group, you decided that you're not going to kill anyone. Conscientious objector, see? Yes, you have created good karma by yourself for that. Because lives were saved. So you've got to take a kind of case-by-case analysis. So this is, how do we decide here? How do we decide whether group karma is in action or not? So some philosophers have tried to solve this problem. Page 16, karmic groups. The question we need to ask now is, who is doing it? Who is doing it? So the difference between group and agent. For example, we are a group here. We are a group here. If we just sit down here doing nothing, I'm not giving any talk, you're not doing anything, we just see it happen, we just enjoy each other's presence and silence, we're not doing anything. No karma, so to speak. But here we are sitting together, listening to a talk. Although you might not be doing anything, your attention is here. You're keeping the 5%. So we are creating this wonderful good karma. So in other words, as a group here, we are one agent. One agent, that means we're acting as one. We have come here for this sutta study, for this meditation, for example. And that creates good karma for us. But the fact that we are a group, maybe we decide to say, let us call ourselves brothers, right? Of TMC, maybe. Then we all go home, There's no karma there, although we are a group. You see what I mean? So you've got to differentiate between group and agent. When we get together and then we do this common act of listening to the Dharma, meditating, then we create good karma. So it's a very fluid, dynamic relationship which we are aware of. Okay? And also this also means whether you're a member of a aggregate or conglomerate. Aggregate means simply a gathering of people. Like here we are get together, we are an aggregate. Conglomerate is different. For example, we are a club. Or we are a secret society, and we go around killing people. So if you're a member of such a society, your karma is there. Because if you're a member, a gang member, you're also part of it. You could have stopped the action, but you didn't. So that's called a conglomerate. Okay, this is 5.2. So this is where, if you join a group, the question now is whether you participate in the group's decision activities or not. If you do, then it's part of the group action. If you don't, then it is not group karma. This is a bit complicated, so we'll deal with this in the next talk, the next study. So for this we'll end here, just before number 6, section 6 on page 17. Any questions? Okay, now we'll end here. Do a short reflection. Okay, now we have begun our study on volume 39 on the nature of group karma and so on. This teaching reminds us that we can act individually, we can also act as groups. But the most important thing is we have to make our minds calm and clear. And if our minds are calm and clear when we get together, then we are able to act more effectively in goodness, like sitting together meditating, keeping precepts together, doing good deeds together. So this is wonderful good karma, the coincidence of doing good. Good is done by individuals, but it can be done together, and that we can also benefit other people as a group. Reflecting in this way is positive good karma. By the power of such karma, may our minds be calm and peaceful, and may focus quickly when we meditate. May in this life itself we attain spiritual liberation and this dream life. Above all, at this peaceful moment, let us send our loving kindness to all those people who need it, to our loved ones, wherever they may be. To those people who need the Dharma, may they come in touch with the Dharma and be happy as a result. May all beings be well and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.